I'm Anil Mall with the Canadian Securities Exchange, and thank you for tuning into another CSE listed issuer update. Today, I am speaking with Robert Eckford. Robert is the CEO of Rua Gold. Rua Gold trades on the CSE under the symbol RUA. Robert, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I hope you're well.
Great to be here, Neil. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Robert, why don't we begin by you giving our audience an introduction to Rua Gold and its focus?
Sure, yeah. Rua Gold is a brand new entrant to the gold market. We're exploring two really prolific districts in New Zealand, one on the North Island and one on the South Island. And we've been private for 4 years. So this is not a quick buy an asset and come to market story. This has been well thought out. It's got a really well-experienced management team behind it that has had a track history of success, and we're in a really good jurisdiction with historical gold production. So we're very excited of what we've got here.
You know, Robert, we typically hear a lot about British Columbia as a jurisdiction, Ontario, Latin America, New Zealand. For our viewers that might not be familiar with this region, can you talk to us about the historical significance and why you and your team are so bullish on this region?
Yeah, I'd love to. And bullish is a great word to use. I mean, New Zealand, on its own regard, is a tier one jurisdiction. And I talk tier one, in my definition, we're talking infrastructure, highways, a skilled workforce, very good education system. So I've worked in a lot of places. I've worked anywhere from DRC down to Brazil and Mexico to most recently Colombia, Australia. So I've worked in a pretty varied range of jurisdictions. And so New Zealand to me is really tier one because it has all those things: highway, rail, all that infrastructure you look for when you're developing a project that can put barriers on entry into the market. And then the other thing I will mention, because as I again reiterating, I'm very bullish on New Zealand. They've got a brand new government that came into power last November. Shane Jones is the mines minister. He is pushing mining really hard. He's got speeches available on YouTube in Parliament saying we are turbocharging mining in New Zealand. They want mining. Chris Lapson, the new prime minister, he's coming from a much more business background than your average politician. He was the CEO of Air New Zealand up until 2020. And so he is very pro-business and pro-economic development, and they want to create jobs. They're sick of having all their young workforce going off to Australia and joining the mines there. They now want to create jobs, to create job security and create economic growth in New Zealand, and they see mining as a vehicle to do that.
Got it. So let's, Rob, why don't we jump into the two projects that the company is currently focused on, one being the Reefton project, as well as the Glamorgan project. The Reefton project, the company has been, you mentioned, working on privately for the last 3 to 4 years. Can we talk a little bit about the past history of this project? What has been done so far? I know currently there's a $2.5 million exploration program going on this project, but I want you to talk to us a little bit about the past history, what's been worked on, and where we're headed.
Yeah, sure. It's definitely been a lot of work to get to where we are today. We've raised $8 million as a private company, and all of that has been spent in the ground, and mostly at the Reefton project, which we've put together 4 years ago. We amalgamated 3 tenements that are all contiguous and in a very prolific region that historically produced 2 million ounces of gold at 25 grams a ton. So, and that's a produced grade, and that was done in the 1950s. And so we know there's gold in the area. There's been a rich history of production, and the only reason they stopped mining in the past is either because the mines would hit water and they didn't have the dewatering technology, or they'd hit a fault line and they wouldn't be able to follow the fault line. And so we know that the gold continues down. We know that there's more potential to find more gold there. And so what we did over this last 4 years is this, in quite bluntness, quite boring methodical work to clean slate and look at this whole area on first principles. We knew that there'd been other parties looking around this area. Oceana Gold had some of these tenements historically. And so, and an ode to Simon, our COO and geologist, who has plus 45 years experience. He is the one that went in there and did soil sampling, UAV resistivity. He's done the 3D modeling. So when we're coming to drilling now, we've done so much groundwork and so much pre-exploration work that we're now putting drill holes in the exact right spot, and we're finding mineralization more often than not. And that's not common in exploration.
Now, with Reefton, obviously you have the drill program underway, which was launched just recently in March, correct?
That's correct. And that's exactly why we went to market. We've done all that early work. We've proven the concept, and now we've IPO'd through an RTO with a shell, and we're now trading on the CSE, and we have drills turning.
It's great. It's great to have progress on the project so quick. So let's maybe talk a little bit about the Glamorgan project. What's the difference between having a project in this region versus Reefton?
In the South Island at Reefton, where we've worked, it's an orogenic style deposit. So that means it's narrow vein. It's sort of anywhere between 0.5 meter to 2.5 meters in width, very high grade gold. In the North Island, it's completely different. It's epithermal, so it's volcanic style rock. And the reason we're excited on the land we've picked up on the north is that it's 2.8 kilometers away, a long trend with the WKP project that OceanaGold operate. And in early March, OceanaGold updated their reserve on the WKP project, and they're showing 1 million ounces at 15 grams a ton. So a really high grade area. And that's the trend that your viewers should notice, is that we're a high grade gold story. We're not interested in the bulk tonnage, low grade, because those are the ones that are first hit by inflation and they're first hit by variable gold prices. When you have high grade, it's an amazing economic story.
High grade gold, great jurisdiction, a mining friendly government who helps promote it. Let's talk about your team a little bit, because that's the other portion of this. How did you get into this space? Talk to us about your background.
So Tyron Breitenbach is a director on our board, and he's the real brains behind putting the Reefton land package together. He did it while he was an investment banker at Cormark. He was the managing director there for 10 years, and he saw this opportunity while he was at Cormark. And so he raised some money. He passed the hat around the ring there. They put some money into it, and they got this land package together. Fast forward 2 years, Tyron leaves Cormark and joins me, where I'm working at Aris Mining. And I founded Aris Mining back in 2020 with Neil Woodyer as the CEO there. And Neil has an amazing track history. This is the second company I founded with Neil, and I've always been his finance guy on the side. And he's a great person to learn from. But when I met Tyron and he told me about this land package, and we'd already taken Aris from a 5 million market cap company to what is today 700 mil, it had already had its run up and it had matured. I found the need to really want to start again. And that's essentially what Tyron and I did. He was still moving this along on the side. It needed a full-time staff because we were about to launch and list on the CSE. And that's when I stepped in as the CEO and helped with the listing, and now we'll continue to take it forward.
Robert, any other key notable team members that you want to mention?
I mean, everyone in our board, and I encourage your viewers to have a look at our board, because they each bring a diverse, different range of experience. But the other person definitely worth noting is Oliver Lennox-King, our chairman. He was the one that built Frontier from scratch and sold it to Newmont for $2 billion. He then he moved on and he started Roxgold, and he started Roxgold as an exploration company and moved all the way into build a mine in West Africa, start producing. It was a cash machine. It was high grade. It was small footprint, exactly what we're trying to do in New Zealand, but in a less desirable jurisdiction. So Oliver Lennox-King did it before, and he sold that to Fortuna for $1.2 billion. He's now back in his home country because he and I were both born in New Zealand. It's both a homage back to our motherland, and going to do it again in a way better jurisdiction that we both are very passionate about. Because as I said, New Zealand's in a recession and they really need some economic growth there, and mining is the perfect vehicle for them.
You know, you've covered some really good points, you know, that I mentioned that kind of as a checklist when it comes to a good project and management. What would you say, Robert, makes you and your team stand out from some of your peers that might be in the same region?
Yeah, so it's a great question, Anil. And part of the thing that sets us apart is the fact that we have one of the biggest data sets out of all the companies in the region on the Reefton district. We know most about that Reefton district than any of our neighbors. We've also got the biggest land package, which has a huge amount of historic production on there. And so I think in terms of our exact neighbors in the Reefton district, we have some of the best land. In the North Island at Glamorgan, we're right next to Oceana Gold, and Oceana Gold are a very different value proposition. They're coming onto the larger mid-size, almost major style gold company, and they don't have that upside talk that we have.
So let's summarize this. You have a $2.5 million exploration program that's underway on Reefton. On Glamorgan, you have 2 groups of exploration permits and 1 prospecting permit that's been applied for. And you're planning a 2,500 meter drill program this year. What are some of the milestones off of these results, obviously, but what are some of the milestones our viewers can look for from you and your team in the coming months?
Sure, yeah, and that's a great question. We're sitting very well financed. The shell that we did an ITO with that was on the CSE had $7.5 million in it. We've spent $1.5 million of that drilling out through the first quarter. Our drill results came out last Friday, and they showed continued mineralization. They were very exciting, and we'll continue updating the market on our South Island exploration program. You're 100% right. We've got $2.5 million planned spend. That covers the core shack, the geology, the drilling. That's our full all-in cost. And that'll see us drilling all the way through the year at Reefton and continually delivering those updates to the market. In the North Island at Glamorgan, because we've just picked up that tenement last October, we're in a permitting phase. And so your viewers should expect to see news on permit progress. So we're going to expect to see some permitting milestones in Q2, where we can start getting boots on the ground and start flying the drones to get all the early exploration work done. And then the next milestone there is in Q4, when we expect to have a drilling permit and have drills turning there at the end of the year.
Well, I look forward to hosting you on again so we can kind of go over some of these results and provide an update to our viewers. Robert, we always encourage our viewers to go to your website, obviously read up on the company, the team, the projects, do their due diligence on this company. Where would you like to direct our viewers so they can sign up for your press releases, newsletter, and of course, reach out to you and your team when they have questions?
Definitely, yeah. And all of that is available on our website at ruagold.com, ruagold.com. You'll be able to find the investors page, which has our latest investors presentation. There's a contact page for a sign up, and I'll make sure you're added to our news list so you get each of our updates as they come out. And what I like to do is when we do a news release and we give an exploration update, I like to send a letter along to our subscribers via email just to say exactly where the company is, what we've thought of these results. You can sort of be a bit more free with your speech because you're not bound by the lawyers and the regulators as much, and you can really just say it as it is. And so I encourage people to sign up and follow along.
To everybody watching and listening, you've been hearing from Mr. Robert Eckford. Robert is the CEO of Rua Gold Inc. It's RUA on the CSE. I'm Anil Mall representing the Canadian Securities Exchange, and we appreciate you tuning in and following along. Thank you. Thanks, Robert.